Hello everyone and welcome to Inside Studio 30 with your boy Ocean. Here today I'm going to show you a couple of ways of how I chop samples when I'm about to start a beat using the sample. I'm going to go ahead and bring the sample in right now. Now once I get the sample in, one way I can do it is I can match, you see I have a 4-bar loop up here. On the sample right now as it sits is closer to 8, with the default BPM being at 120 right now. So say if I bring my loop out to 8 bars and just say I'm gonna do the sample at 8 bars. I'll let you hear the sample before I do anything to it. Now, there's a couple of things that I can do, and there are a couple of ways you can get to do it. One, I can move the BPM. If you watch where my numbers are up here at the top, as I move the BPM up, they get closer to the sample, and that kind of way you can almost match it. Once we zoom in, we'll see that the sample is off a little. If you hold down Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC, you see this is my way I can stretch a track. If I hold down Option, you see the little time signal. This turns into a time stretching and allows me to time stretch the sample to the end. So now I have a perfect sample looped at 148 BPMs. So that's one way, which is like I said, but right now you're at 148 BPMs. You might not want to be at that high. So let's say you want to do a beat and you want your beat to be around 90 BPM. So we're gonna do it at 90 BPM. You see that my time thing is off. If I were to time stretch this across all the way to the 8 BPM, the sample will be really slow. I'll do that just so you can see. And you don't want your sample to play that slow, so we're gonna undo that. Now the sample is closer to 4. 4, so we can time stretch it back to 4. Now it'll be a little fast, but like I said, once again, if you want to keep the 90 BPM, so say that's what the space that you want will come in. So you now have a couple of options. Once you find the rate that you want your sample to be at, the BPM, you have a couple options on how you can play it throughout the song. You can loop it by just clicking on it and dragging, holding down Option or Alt, dragging the sample over, duplicating it many times, and just let it play through as a sample, as a track, audio track on your in your session. Or you can chop it. Let's say we're just gonna chop it in the 4s on the downbeat. You can chop it, and you can take each sample and send it to the sample 1. Open up a track. So now you have it as a sample inside of the sample 1, which you could play. It also allows you to gives you control to go up and down of course, speeding it up or decreasing the speed. It says C3, and like I said, if you can hold it. If you come in here and create your MIDI track, you can drag it out to touch one. We'll mute this one. Go right here. And then, like I said, if you want to do two on it, however you want to do it, you can play it. It allows you to play it on your keyboard. So if you put in the sample one, so that's another way you can trigger your samples throughout the song. Like I said, you could have each sample sent to a sample one and have their own track, and so you could trigger that sample in different areas, however you want to do it. But let's say let's merge these back together. I could also send it as one whole sample to the sample one. So this sample one is playing as a whole. Or whichever one that was the sample. I could do it that way. Let's take it back to the chop. So if I chop this, I can bring up impact. If I have an MPD or a MIDI controller, I can bring up impact. I can drag my sample, onto it. All I gotta do is set the group to 1. That way it'll cut off the next sample. You could transpose, you can tune, you can do your release, you can do a cutoff, you can do a resonance, you can do a sample, a multitude of different things with each sample in that. One other cool thing you could do with samples is, okay, say that you got your sample down. You're gonna trigger your sample impact, or you just going to copy it and duplicate it throughout the track, whatever your method you want to do, that's what you're comfortable with. But now you want to add stuff to the sample. So easy way in Studio One that you're good with samples is that you can right hand click and send the sample and edit it with Melodyne. Now sending it through Melodyne going to do two things. It's going to tell you what to tell you what the key of the sample is, which, as you can see on here, it shows that the sample is in D major. So now I have the key. I can coordinate my sample, and when I go up here to play with my contact, I can put my samples into D major and make sure that all my other sounds that I'm adding in are in the right key of the sample. I also gives me the ability with using Melodyne. You see that it leaves you this MIDI track, this MIDI representation of the sample. You could actually take that, drag it up here to a MIDI instrument, and it leaves you with the MIDI track alone. So now you could go in, you can see how the sample is played. I'll let you listen to it. And see, it's trying to play all the sounds. So now I can take out the key sounds that I don't need, or patterns that I don't need, and that can leave me with the chorus or the chords of the sample or the bass line of the sample, and then I can use that to incorporate my own sound and add it to it. Because as I cut from the original sample, I now could bring back in my own sounds to add to the original part of the sample that I want. So these are some of the ways that you can chop and cut up samples using Studio One and what's inside Studio One. Thank you. This has been episode for Inside Studio 30 on your boy Ocean. Peace. Don't forget to subscribe.